Good evening, everybody. We have a special guest with us, and in fact, a lot of us must have read the GroupM ESP Sporting Nation Report. Welcome, Vinit. Welcome to the bridge, and we are here to talk about the GroupM ESP Sporting Nation Report 2022, and the numbers are humongous, and it's good to see those numbers. And Vinit, this is the 10th edition of the report. So I think this will be a good starting point of this conversation. How has the report evolved in the last 10 editions? Please share with our
Yeah.
audience.
Sure. Thanks, Arshi, firstly for having me on this show. So it's a pleasure. And yes, it's a great moment for us at GroupM to release the 10th edition because and if you see the name of the report itself is Sporting Nation in the Making, so you can imagine the excitement in our minds today because we have done this journey for 10 years and IPL is 16 years old. I mean, it's the 16th year of IPL. So to get to your point, I mean, in 2014 sometime, we realized that India has obviously embarked a journey of creating sporting heroes, winning medals, and we saw significant steps taken by Government of India, by various different federations in sports, BCCI of course, and of course the private. I mean the private sector also started investing heavily in sports, and that's when we realized that there has to be a uniqueness to the offer because at some point in time, if you wanted sports to become big, there had to be somebody who could get the entire ecosystem together in terms of what's happening, why is it happening, where will it go, and things like that. And that's when we came up with the thought of coming up with a sports sponsorship report because eventually, if you see the way India is structured, our business model is pretty much between the subscription revenue from a media rights point of view, advertising revenue, and of course the sponsorship revenue. So mainly predominantly 50+ percent of the revenue comes from the advertising resources, right? And therefore it became very important for the marketeers to know the ecosystem, to know what are the numbers, what are the trends, which way are those numbers shaping up, and eventually what is in it for them if they have to come on board and invest in sport going forward. So these are some of the points that triggered our thought process in 2014 when we first launched our report then. And obviously it's been an incredible journey for us because we obviously are extremely proud of this one decade that we have been lucky to be a part of. And if you see, I mean, in every report, we also give you the past trends for all of the readers and industry to possibly see how things have changed from 2010 or 2014 to 2023, and that's a journey incredible. And imagine, I mean, last year when we launched this report, the numbers were about 9,500 crores, and look at the report this year, which obviously is talking about the 2022 numbers. The industry has gone way above about 10,000 crores to reach a number of 14,203 to be precise. Now that's exciting, isn't it, Arshi?
Definitely, and I think it is such a good time to be into the sports industry and myself being an entrepreneur because, see, any industry to flourish, we need that, flow of funds eventually. Otherwise, there is isn't much to aspire at the end of the day. We all are here, as you said, that it's very important for each one of us to come together to form a full-fledged, robust ecosystem, and each of the stakeholders are important, be it the government, the corporates, the media houses, the teams, the leagues, players, and the entire support staff, everybody. So you spoke about Vinith, and I loved reading the report. And your team has done a fantastic job in bringing and collecting and stitching it in a very good way. I feel as a sports enthusiast and a sports entrepreneur, I loved reading it. So Vinit, see, it says that the Indian sports industry smashes records, surpasses 14,000 crore, and that's a good number. When we read it later on, we all know that how India is a cricket crazy nation, right? And cricket paves the way for other sports. And for the longest time in our country, sports was synonymous to cricket, I would say, till almost a decade earlier. And even in cricket, there was a lot of gap and disparity between the men's and the women's cricket. Finally, we had women's Premier League this year, and it was honestly it was very relieving to see that finally WPL is here. But if you see the entire sponsorship spend, cricket dominates 85% of the sponsorship spend. But let's take a few minutes and talk about, like, in cricket, what has been your observation working with brands? Because in cricket also, it's primarily male cricket. So but recently we have seen stars in our female cricket domain as well. And we are seeing the rise in the endorsement and the money which is flowing in. So how has been your experience here?
So, firstly, it's a great start for women's cricket. So, I mean, while cricket was always, I mean, men's and women's were always packaged as one and monetized as one. But from this year, as you rightly said, we have a WPL, and that's been an incredible inaugural year because look at it from a media rights point of view, 951 crores is the acquisition cost of WPL that Viacom has paid, which is great. Look at the six teams; all are corporates. In fact, four of them are existing IPL teams. And I don't know if you followed and watched some matches. I did some, including the finals, and the competitive spirit of our girls worldwide, and especially the Indian girls, is phenomenal. So I think everything has a time. You need to launch things at the right time. So if you see, if IPL was launched in 2008, you had an ISL and the Pro Kabaddi League coming in to the foray in 2012, 2013. And that's how slowly the journey of sports in India actually began. Otherwise, you're right, we were predominantly a cricket playing nation. But what we tend to ignore, Arshi, most of the times, is that cricket also has taken a long time before it's come to the stage that it has, right? I mean, 1983 is what? I mean, almost about 40 years before, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And 2008 IPL happened, but we had cricketing heroes right from 60s and 70s. But if you see, there were two important trigger points. One was 83 win, and second was the 1990, 1991, when BCCI actually went and created a massive story around media rights, where Doordarshan for the first time paid to carry cricket as a content piece. Otherwise, it used to be the other way around. So cricket also has gone through these challenges that most
Yeah.
of the newer leagues have. But BCCI has been at it for almost 30-35 years before they could actually recoup the hard work, and we have to give them credit for that. So therefore, from a emerging sport standpoint, from a women's sport standpoint, I think the journey has begun. And obviously, without hard work, you don't reach your mark where you have to. And I guess that's the challenge most of the other sports will have. Cricket obviously is special, and we should celebrate that. But yes, I think there's a lot of work to be done. In fact, Kabaddi this year has announced another women's league. So in 2023, you will have WPL, which you had a couple of months back, and you will in the next couple of months also see a season of Kabaddi for women separately.
Correct, absolutely. And I remember reading this news about introduction of women aspect
Right,
in the
right.
PKL, and I was so happy to see, because cricket in a way shows the way, like in our country, in the sports industry. So right, so that is definitely there. Bringing back your attention to one of the point where you it is mentioned on the report that how for the brands who spend on advertising on entertainment, they have seen that sports industry is one of the better performing industries with a CAGR of 14%. It is mentioned on the report. So
Right,
uh,
right.
I want you to dissect this for our audience who will be watching this video. That why do you say this as one of the better performing industries?
See, look, from a sheer percentage growth standpoint, we have seen cricket in this year, I mean, sports in this year growing 49%. Tell me which industry has grown 49% in the last 2 or 3 years in one calendar year, right? So the very fact that industry grows at not only at a double digit growth but a 49% growth, which very clearly means that there is focus, there is interest, and more importantly, the excitement is because almost close to about 50% of India, and we keep reading about that as well, right? Is young India below the age of 27, if I'm not wrong, right? Now, obviously, if you see any youngster today within our community, within our families, within our friend circles, tell me which youngster or which kid you know who does not follow sport. Yeah, and if
Yeah,
50%, yeah, I mean, with me on that. Now,
I agree. Yeah.
if you're saying 50% of India is young and youth, and if you say most of them, if not all, follow sport in some way or the other, I think the answer is straightforward, right? Forget about 49% growth over 21 to 22. Sheer, keep your eyes and ears open within your community. Just walk down the street anywhere in the country, any city or town. You will see a huge amount of interest and visibility on sport. Whether it is cricket, whether it is football, whether it is hockey, whether it is kabaddi. You have a kho league, you have a volleyball league, and you will see people playing that, right? And we are a large country. We're a very, very large country. So if you look at cricket, while cricket actually covers length and breadth of this country and reaches to the smallest little town, look at football. Football is extremely popular in West Bengal, in Kerala, in Goa. Kabaddi is very popular in Tamil Nadu, in Telangana, in AP. There are pockets for all sport. And in a country like ours, where every 150, 200 kilometers, there's a language change, it
Yeah.
definitely has a lot of room for multiple sport to sustain, survive, and scale.
True, absolutely. And even the entire of Northeast India, right? They have emerged as a powerhouse, not just for football as well as for other sports. Look at our boxers coming from there,
Absolutely.
weightlifting, and a lot of other sports. Yeah. But we are delving into a very interesting topic now, which is very close to my heart, and that's why Bridge exists. You spoke about Coco and a couple of other sports, volleyball as well.
Right.
So see again, like as we said, for the longest time in our country, sports was synonymous to cricket, and now with all these sports coming up, variety of sports, right? And so how do you see like an effort like the Sporting Nation report, how will it help to identify upcoming trends or emerging trends in the industry, and on the basis of that, how you feel that this report can help even for the brands, right? For the longest time, brands have thought of only advertising or putting in the sponsorship on cricket, and now this is something which is very new to put in their funds, their budget into the non-cricketing space. So how are the expectations like for brands, because Group M works with so many brands, and I'm sure you will have a vital point to add here.
So one of the reasons Arshi Sporting Nation exists is exactly your question. So we have started this initiative only to evangelize this space and possibly give some kind of understanding of how things are progressing in the sports industry and how can it be beneficial for everybody. For I mean, today, if you look at a full-fledged chapter on athletes. There's a full-fledged chapter on emerging sports. which basically gives you insights in terms of how can one use these platforms and how can they leverage it, because what's the fan following? I mean, we have given a huge amount of data on social numbers. We have given data on viewership numbers, trends around that. So there is something or the other for everybody in the ecosystem. Predominantly, I agree, for marketeers and brands, because they would look at the progress and some trends not only in cricket but emerging sports, um, and athlete management as well. So you have an entire section on endorsements, right? How have that progressed? And we have very
Yeah.
clearly called out the performances of PV Sindhu, performances of Neeraj Chopra, and things like that. So, which very clearly indicates that there is huge amount of thrust and focus, not only towards cricketers but also towards our non-cricketing athletes. Look at our cricket. Look at Mithali Raj. Look at Harmanpreet Kaur. I mean, they are today household names.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm not taking the names of PV Sindhu and Saina Nehwal because they obviously are our poster girls. They actually started off their journey 5 years back, in fact, or maybe more, and they've been sustaining it for a while. So I mean, I would always call them our poster girls. And now, obviously, with WPL, so much of focus on our cricketing talent. I think it's in my words, in my language, I call this as the Amrit Kal for Indian sport.
Brilliant. Yeah, we can have a series called Amrit Kal of Indian sports.
Right, and actually track the progress, maybe every 6 months or maybe every year, and I'm sure from here on there is no stopping India, because I mean, we have beaten the world in most of the things. Today, look at the way we consume data from an internet standpoint. We are the look at the way we do things on mobile phones. We're the biggest in the world. Look at the UPI initiative of NPCI. I mean, we are actually going and showing the world how to use technology, how to make the most of digital technology that we have. So I somewhere have a feeling that sports is not going to be behind. We will be very soon world beaters, not only in cricket but in other sports as well.
Great. I feel so good to hear that, Vinith. So you spoke about how multiple stakeholders will be coming together, and so see overall, obviously, brand sponsorship, athlete leagues, these are all one aspect of it. But at the same time, the government, the federation, the association, right? They play a key role in shaping up the sporting
Yeah.
culture in the country, right? So just help us understand how, if there is any way where the policy makers of the country, they can go back to the report to drive a policy change. So is it something which is included in your framework?
No, so we are not talking about specifically about policy changes at this point in time, because very clearly our report is about sports sponsorship market in India. So we are not here to advise the government on policies. That's not the intention of this report. However, what one can do, I mean, the policymakers or people advising the policymakers can do, take a lot of inspiration and trends from the report to shape their priorities, because very clearly our report will give you trends in terms of how things are shaping up from a marketing standpoint, from a viewership standpoint, and from an audience profiling standpoint. Therefore, and these are the key important stakeholders anybody would need to build a brand or to build a story or to build a sport, for that matter. So it can a lot of data points can be taken and be as an inspiration to build policies. But our intention is not our target audience is not the policymakers. Our target audience is basically marketeers and brand marketeers as our primary TG, and maybe federations, athletes who can possibly read a lot about it, because there's a lot of theory into it. There's a lot of practical examples and case studies. We have incorporated a lot of learnings from advertisers who have been a part of the sports industry. So if you see, every chapter has a segment called Expert Speaks, right? And within that, there could be a lot of trends and next steps coming up. So that's pretty much the objective of our report.
Yeah, it makes sense also. And in fact, when I was reading, I just, this thing came to my mind that this should be a part of the curriculum in our education policy, right? People need to know about what is happening in the Indian sports ecosystem.
In fact, Archie, you made a very pertinent point. In fact, today you will be surprised. I was surprised, I think, about 5 years back. I do a lot of guest lectures, and I spend a lot of time with the younger generation, especially people who want to be a part of the sports industry. I mean, you have got so many sports marketing courses today. You have so many marketing courses where you find students asking you questions more about sport and less about other aspects. So very clearly the trend is there. And I have seen most of these guys, and because we upload our report on internet, and anybody can download it freely, because we don't our objective is for people to learn more about sports and onboard more bright talent into the industry. So we very from the day one we've been uploading. So I see a lot of student community actually reading our report, and they're quite aware of Sporting Nation as a report, and they follow the trends in that report. And in fact, one of the things, I also wrote a book last year, and it's called The Business of Sport. And one of the reasons why I did that is because I thought that most of our students are studying a curriculum which is written and conceived in the West. But India has behaved very differently in the last 2 decades in terms of how sports needs to be grown. So it was important for our students to know theoretically and practically how Indian sport functions. So therefore, I have very clearly titled my book as Business of Sport, and it talks about a lot of elements about India, and mainly from an academic standpoint. So between Sporting Nation in the Making as a report and Business of Sport as the book, I think students have enough on their plate at this point in time, and I promise that we'll continue to do this job so that they can keep getting these trends easily available via Google search, so that they can learn more, and more people can adopt to that academically, and obviously help all of us grow this space, because you will need a very bright and young talent to catapult the entire sport industry. We have to be world beaters.
Absolutely, and I think you touched upon a very important point, Vineet, that because I come across so many bright candidates who have studied from outside India, and they are coming back and they are trying to take up a job here. But honestly, the knowledge which they have taken there, it is far away from the Indian landscape reality,
True, very
right?
true.
Yeah,
Ask me, I've been facing it for so many years now. I mean, and I get damn worried, very nervous feeling I get, because eventually when these people come out in the industry, and when they see us working in the industry, they are not able to correlate what they have studied in their university and the way we are practitioners operate in the Indian market. It's very different.
Yeah, so I'm glad to see that this report, in a way, is actually bridging the gap between the expectations and reality in the sports ecosystem.
In fact, I'm not calling out the names of the couple of institutes we are aware, and we are working with them, who are actually taking lot of course material from our reports and onboarding as a part of their 1 or 2 year program. So that's also very encouraging to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great. So, bringing back the attention to the non-cricket space we were talking about, and we have seen with the recently concluded Hyderabad E-Prix, Formula E, and the Grand Prix of Bharat, which is the MotoGP, just on the horizon. What opportunities do they present for fans and for even the sponsors and athletes of motorsport?
See, huge, right? I mean, at least, I mean, we've seen F1, I think, what, 10 years back? I don't even remember when F1 came to Noida. But after that, there's been a void in the motorsport sector as such. The very fact that Formula E, now MotoGP is coming, and all of that is very encouraging sign for the fans. And as I said, India is a very large country, and every sport will have audience in terms of numbers, and those numbers are going to be higher than any other country if you look at it in isolation, because of the sheer size of our market. And I'm very happy that the motorsport guys are coming back in a new shape and form. And I'm sure there will be a lot of endemic brands who would initially would want to onboard on these leagues as sponsors. But the time is not too far when the non-endemic brands also will join the bandwagon, and I'm pretty confident about that. So I think the moot point is the quality of product that needs to be good. You need to bring great athletes who people follow. Do a good job consistently for 3 4 years, and you will see many people supporting it, not only from a fan point of view, but from a marketing and advertising point of view as well. But we just need to do things right. Look at kabaddi. I mean, who knew kabaddi would be the second most popular sport in the country? I mean, if somebody would have given me a quiz in terms of which sport do you think is going to be the second biggest sport in the country, I would have without a doubt said football. But today football and kabaddi go hand in hand. I mean, they're actually competing for the second and third position. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, there is merit in doing things right, doing things consistently for a longer period of time for every sport to yield result. And again, we are talking about a 10-year of PKL and 10-year of ISL. We have completely ignored the fact that cricket in this country has been broadcasted for 30 years for the space it has reached. So it's
Yeah.
not that cricket has grown overnight.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, true. And also, if you see all these right now, also as we are speaking, a lot of such good leagues are coming up. Handball league is scheduled to happen in the month of
Yeah,
June.
absolutely. I heard about it. Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. Who would have thought, right, that India will have a handball league? Honestly, handball being one of the, not one of the, it's the fastest Summer Olympic sports, right? And I would say there is a lot of awareness that has to happen. And as you rightly said, that 4 5 साल लग जाते हैं, to
True.
build it in a remarkable way. But having said that, if you have to advise Vineet on, you spoke about that, create a good product, right? So let's say if we are talking about the leagues in this case, what are the certain factors? Like one can be the packaging of the product has to be better, or keeping in mind the spectator orientation, right? It has to look good, it has that mass appeal, etc. So can you just give, let's say, top 3 points to make the next sport league as successful as PKL?
See, firstly, the sport has to be television friendly. Okay, not all sports are television friendly, and we need to accept that, right? Second, you need to have the best quality of that sport being demonstrated on the playing field. The reason why IPL or the biggest sporting league in the world in terms of cricket is because the best talent in the world plays every summer in India. There is if you are a cricketer of repute, you are playing in Indian Premier League, right? So
Yeah.
therefore, the second reason is the best athlete, the best talent needs to be there. Okay, and third and more importantly, the stakeholders who are a part of the sport, whether it's a federation or the team owners, need to be patient enough to invest into that sport for at least 3 to 5 years and not wait for magic to happen. Because even if you look at cricket, the profitability in cricket came only after 7 years, and in some
Yeah.
cases after 10 years. So people invested for that much time in cricket. Make no mistake, right? And if in cricket it took that much of time, one shouldn't be expecting other sports to break even or making money earlier than that. So a horizon of 5 to 7 years is one we should keep in mind. So you need to have partner ecosystem who can sustain investments into that particular asset for that much of a longevity. So these are some of the 3 4 key basic points that we need to keep in mind for anything to any sport to get be sustainable and successful in my mind, Arshi. And in fact, I don't remember exactly when, but I think around 2017, we did one white paper, and I will share with you offline with IIM Ahmedabad, where we have done 10 points that one needs to consider towards making a league successful. It's a full-fledged report, again available in public domain, but I will share it with you nonetheless.
Sure, sure. That would be great. And although Vineet, each of these points can have another, one round of conversation because there is so much to delve into and dissect. And I would love to have more such conversations, and maybe we can figure out arrangement of taking audience question as well, because there's a lot to learn, especially for the new entrants in the industry. But one
Absolutely.
last question from my end is that, PV Sindhu and Neeraj Chopra, the two, I would say, stalwarts of the non-cricket space, they are leading the chart with most of the men cricketers in terms of endorsement. So, what advice would you give to a non-cricket athlete to, make a mark in terms of getting into that premium endorsement category?
See, look here. So think about why do brands, onboard endorsers in the first place? Brands onboard endorsers because to create differentiator in the product category. Okay, and somewhere make a mark in the consumer mind space, right? Now, the only trigger from a sporting point of view is the performance. Okay, so if you are going to be performing well on field and off field, okay, and also today with the emergence of social media and real time feedback, off field performances also make a lot of difference. Yeah. So if I have to give a very simple answer to this one. On-field and off-field performance and behavior is the first step and perhaps the most important step for you to get noticed in the endorsement circuits. And obviously, everybody likes a boy next door or a girl next door. As long as your imagery is is like that, you are 9 on 10 times absolutely good to get endorsement contracts. And there would be a 1% or a 2% of our athletes are our heroes who possibly be larger than life. Okay, but that's a 1 or 2%. Most of it would fall into the boy or girl next door kind of a zone, and there would be 1 2% who would be larger than life imagery. So if these are the kind of areas one focuses on, but nothing succeeds like success. Therefore, from an endorsement standpoint, nothing succeeds like your performance. I mean, let your performance do the talking. The rest will be taken care of from a marketeer standpoint.
Yeah, great. So I think this is a good statement for us to end this conversation, and we all should let that statement sink in within us. Not just the sports person, this holds true otherwise in life also. Let success do
Absolutely,
the
absolutely.
talking. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Great, Vinit. Thank you for speaking with us. And it was a pleasure to have you for this conversation. And we at Bridge, we are telling stories, sports stories beyond mainstream cricket. And we will continue to do that. And it's good to see. We will be working together soon, maybe.
Absolutely, Arshi. All the very best. I think you are doing a fabulous job. It's a great initiative. I mean, anything and everything around what you guys do is important. And for us to become a sporting nation at some stage, all these things put together is absolutely value and absolutely a must do. So congratulations. You're doing a fantastic job. Keep doing it, and all the very best. And thanks once again for having me on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Vinit.